Hey everyone, Alexander Strate here. Really excited to be doing this video here with all of you today. This is one of my favorite topics. It's about objections, but more specifically with objections, it's about what I like to call the AAA formula to overcome any objection. And this is especially important working in this market because you're going to get objections. It's natural in any sales cycle. And you want to make sure that you have a couple quick go-to responses memorized. And this is going to be a great way, a great formula to have those responses ready. That way you are never stuck in a position that you are unable to move, you don't know what to do next, anything like that. So the AAA formula, what it stands for, the first A is agree. The second A is acknowledge. And the third A is ask a question. Agree, acknowledge, ask a question. So let's kind of break this down a little bit. When you agree with someone right away, so let's say you get an objection, right? Let's say you get an objection like, I've already got that taken care of. I got a couple written down here. I've already got that taken care of, Alex. Perfect. Wonderful. Excellent. Anything along those lines, because the opposite of agreeing is arguing. And when you argue with someone, when you become combative with someone, you're going to get a lot less done. And so by actually agreeing with them, it kind of catches them by surprise. It lowers their guard and keeps them on the phone, even if it's just for another 10-15 seconds. It's giving you an opportunity to get more across to them before they end up just hanging up the phone. So agreeing with them is so important. Perfect, that's the purpose of my call. Excellent, I'm so glad you told me that. Wonderful, I would be really concerned if you didn't. Right? You're agreeing with them in some way in order to make sure that you lower their guard and they aren't as combative with you. And so that always needs to be your default response. If you ever get in a situation where you feel a little pressure, you feel like they're coming at you, it's combative, chances are you probably haven't agreed with them in quite some time. You need to agree with them to just lower their guard down a little bit. Just take it down a couple notches. So, well, I wasn't prepared to do all this today. Perfect. I'm so glad you brought that up. Excellent. Let me address that really quick. Wonderful. I'm really glad you mentioned that. Just things along those lines. And so always, always, always agree with them first. That's the first A. The second A is acknowledgement. So acknowledging is making sure that they heard, making sure that you heard what they said. So if you just say, perfect, give me your credit card, that's not going to work, right? Because you didn't really overcome and address their concern. So acknowledgement is when you actually take the time to address their concern, and that way they feel heard. That's all they want to do is know that they're being heard, their concerns are being heard, and you're actively addressing and acknowledging them. So I've already got that taken care of. Perfect, that's the purpose of my call. Looks like here that maybe it has been taken care of, but for whatever reason, it's not resolved in our files. And they have me calling in order to get this resolved in the system, so you stop getting those phone calls, right? Or what's another one I got down here? I'm not wanting to make a decision today. Perfect, I'm so glad you brought that up. A lot of people definitely want to make sure they have some time to think about it, right? So now you're kind of acknowledging them and you're making sure that you hear their concern and that they get that you hear their concern. So you always have to agree with them first, and then you acknowledge what they said. That way you guys are on the same page. Yep, you hear me, I hear you. And then the third A is you ask a question, and then this is how you take back control. This is the most important part. If you're just agreeing with them and you're acknowledging with them and you're not taking back control, then literally they're in control. Because they're calling the shots, they're in 100% control the entire time. By you asking a question, it allows you to take back control of the conversation and to guide it the direction you want to go. So, for example, I'm not wanting to make a decision today. Perfect, Mary, I'm so glad you brought that up. I know a lot, so agree. I know a lot of people definitely want some time to kind of look things over and think about it before they make any decisions. Acknowledgement. And I made a decision a long time ago that I wouldn't make any decisions on the spot. I'm assuming you're the same way, right, Mary? You just asked a question, take back control. Yeah, no, I never make decisions on the spot. Perfect, Mary. Well, the way this works is that we do have to get something submitted in order to see if you're qualified. And then once we get it submitted, you'll have a free look period where you can make any adjustments. But just like how you have to think about it, the company has to think about you too. Does that make sense? And again, so you agree with them, you acknowledge their concern, then you ask a question to take back control. So another one is, I've already got that taken care of. Perfect. I'd be really concerned if you didn't. They just have me calling in order to make sure that we get this file resolved in the system, because for whatever reason, it looks like it wasn't resolved. Which carrier did you get that set up with? What kind of coverage did you get set up with? Was it the whole life that's permanent, or was it the term that has an expiration date? Right? Now you're asking a question to direct the conversation the way you want it to go. Right? How about this? Can you call me back in a month? Hey, Alex, this sounds really good. I definitely want to go over this, but I'm just so busy right now. Can you call me back in a month? Oh, perfect, Mary. Really glad you asked me that. Is the reason you're asking that because you just have a lot going on right now in the household? Yeah, just, the in-laws are in town, and, it's been so hard, and with the COVID, and it's just one thing after another. I just can't do this right now. Perfect, Mary. So glad you let me know that. They have me working with over a dozen different carriers. That way we can make sure that we get exactly what you're looking for in a really quick time frame. Usually it takes about 10-15 minutes, and to be honest, I don't have all day to waste on the phone, and I'm sure you don't either. So if it took 10 minutes for you to get exactly what you were looking for, would that make sense for your timeline right now, or should we schedule an appointment for later today? Right? So I agreed with them, I acknowledged, filled the space, gave time to explain myself, and I asked the question about now or later today in order to take back control. So you can do this over and over and over again. Agree, acknowledge, ask a question. The better you get at this, the better your conversations will go, the less times you're going to get hung up on the phone. And it's a very critical point to make sure that you're hearing them and they're hearing you, and you're not just a robot going through the motions, and they're really, really going to appreciate that. So you can do that for the last objection I wanted to cover is, why do I have to give you my bank account information? I just wanted to get a quote. Why do I have to give you my bank account information? Perfect, Mary. I'm really glad you brought that up. Have you ever applied for insurance before? Or have you ever gone to the store and done something like this before? Well, yeah, I've got insurance before, or yeah, well, I've done this, or no, I haven't. This is my first time. Regardless of what they say, well, perfect, Mary. That makes so much sense. That why you're confused. The way this works is we're trying to see if you qualify, and if you do qualify, that means that you'll be approved for the coverage, which is a good thing because we're trying to get coverage, and that means that the money is going to be coming out because you are covered. So right now what we're looking at is the $10,000 Americo Eagle Premier for the $57 a month with the terminal illness rider that'll give you some money up front if you become terminally ill. And if you pass away in an accident, it would double to $20,000. So the question, Mary, isn't so much about the bank account information, but the $10,000 for the 57 with the terminal illness and with the double accidental. If you did qualify for that, does that make financial sense, or do we need to adjust? Oh, well, yeah, I guess that would make sense. I just wasn't ready to give my bank account information. Perfect, Mary. Really glad you mentioned that. So that is the way that this is going to have to go. So if the 10,000 for 57, if that doesn't work for you, if that doesn't make sense, I'd rather know now so we can adjust it. But if it does, is there any reason why you would hesitate to want to get that coverage to protect your daughter, Mary? Or can we go ahead and get this pushed through so you don't have to think about it anymore? Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and get that done. Let's get it done. So it's just a great formula, and you can see how it kind of just comes natural in conversation after a while, but you always agree with them first. You acknowledge them, gives you time to kind of acknowledge you heard them and explain your side. Then you ask a question to stay in control of the conversation. So hope this video helps. Feel free to reach out if you ever have any other follow-up questions. We're here to support you, and I'm really excited to see your growth in this company. We know you can absolutely have a lot of success here.